As long as there's cricket around in the Caribbean, you see people come out in numbers. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing now with this upcoming T20 World Cup. The response that we're getting so far from the crowds, from the public back in West Indies, I think this is going to be one of the bigger tournaments that actually embracing the atmosphere is a different thing. For example, we played against Chennai, and the amount of noise and the sea of yellow that you see, we all know that, man. And it's amazing. It's like, how do you make so much noise in one small space? I don't think that was possible. So you'd hear it on TV, you'd see it on TV, but it cannot compare to what it is in person.
Hi there, you've tuned in to the Delhi Capitals podcast. My name is Suprita and it is time for yet another episode of our podcast. It's an IPL debutant this time around, but in the games that he's played so far for the Delhi Capitals, he's left a mark, no doubt. From Barbados, the land of gorgeous beaches, stalwart cricketers Rum and Rihanna, we have joining us today on the podcast, Shai Hope. Hi.
Hey. Hello.
Did I miss out anything about Barbados in the intro? Or did I cover it more or less?
There's too many things we can speak about Barbados, but it's nice to see that you added Rihanna there for sure, because she's definitely... Oh, she's amazing.
She's amazing. Okay, Shai, we're in the middle of IPL and we'll talk about how your first IPL has been so far. But before that, since we started with Barbados, let's get to know you a little bit and the land you hail from a little bit. Tell us about growing up there and what childhood was like. Was cricket always a part of your growing up?
Well, yeah, firstly, I'm blessed to be living in such a beautiful island, Barbados. But yeah, cricket has been a part of my life pretty much from the time I was born. My dad and my brother, they both play cricket. Well, my dad doesn't play anymore, but growing up I used to watch them play in the garage because my dad, he's a joiner, so he has a nice little workshop there, and we used to play cricket inside the workshop. So from then I just fell in love with the game. But yeah, Barbados is a lovely place.
So inside the workshop, like a closed space?
Yeah.
And then there's also cricket on the beach?
Yeah. Well, I haven't played like actual schedule and cricket on the beach, but I've played a lot of cricket on the beach with my family. So it's like we just find a ball, we have a bat, because I said my dad's a joiner, so he just has wood lying around, so he just makes stuff for me. But yeah, my family was always sports oriented. Okay. And it's just nice to be able to have that freedom as well running around the house, just sometimes breaking things. But my mom and dad, they were happy with those things, because now they say I can pay for it. So
no struggles when you were a kid to like get a bat because you could just get it in the garage?
Well, we know how expensive cricket equipment is, but it wasn't. My dad made my first cricket bat, that's the truth. But the first proper bat that I had to get, it was a bit expensive, we know this. But yeah, if there's any weight changes that need to be done, whether it's too long, whether it's too heavy, he would just fix it up for me and make sure I was ready to go. But yeah, I just happy to have him around, especially growing up, because he would always support both my brother and I. My brother also played cricket for West Indies, so it's great to have two solid cricket brains around the house to help me grow in my career.
So, safe to say that cricket was always going to be your number one career choice, or was there something else that interested you and you thought, oh, maybe I could be a doctor, a teacher, anything at all?
So again, like I said, my family is very sports oriented, and growing up I always enjoy playing sports, whether it's pretty much ball sports. So football, tennis, basketball, everything. And let's be frank, in the Caribbean is very difficult to make it out, as you'd say, playing other sports. So I kind of made an executive decision when I was younger. I decided to jump on the cricket train. But for me, I don't think that I would say no to the other sports. It's just because I still play them. But I think for me it's important to understand what am I going to do for a living, in a sense. And I always enjoyed the game, especially growing up. and you're hearing the greats on the radio or seeing it on the TV, you just want to be like them. So yes, I have a love for other sports, but cricket was always at the top of the chamber for making it in a career.
Yeah. I think with the Caribbean, cricket's so much a part of culture, like it is here in India, right?
Oh,
Pretty
yes.
much every child you will see like pick up a bat and you know, break window panes, like you said. I think we've all got those similar memories. You had any role models though, or any players? There's so many greats from the Windies and from Barbados itself who you were like, I want to be like that person.
Okay, so a lot of people are tired of hearing this. Like, I always say, look up to my brother from literally everything that he does. I always wanted to be like him. So he would be my biggest role model, and I think it's great to have him around me all the time, especially growing up.
What is the age difference?
5 years apart. Okay. He's 5 years older than me.
Okay.
But from a cricketing standpoint, the legends that I've seen play the game, like I said, when you hear the radio on or see the TV on, you always see Brian Lara scoring runs. So he was in the end ringing. And it got to a point where, because he was left-handed and I'm right-handed, it got to a point where I got mirrors and watched him just to see how he looked batting right-handed, because I wanted to bat like him. He was certainly one of the players that I always wanted to see whenever I turned the TV on. So if he's not at the crease, I'm like, when is he gonna bat? But Brian, for sure, Brian Lara, he was a class act, and just seeing him do what he did best was amazing. Yeah,
it's a little bit like most kids growing up at that time in India wanted to be like Sachin Tendulkar.
Yes.
So I'm assuming back home it would just have to be Brian Lara. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you meet Brian Lara for the first time, and what was that meeting like?
I think I've met him asking for a signature at some point, but it wasn't like a real meet. It was probably someone getting the bat signed for me.
Okay.
But in England, 2017, he was physically there with us in the team. So I actually had a nice conversation with him, tried to pick his brain as best as I could. But I think that was a real conversation that I had with him, 2017 in England. So
does he know the mirror story?
Probably by now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2017, when you met Brian Lara, you said in England, is that the series in the Headingley Test where you scored your two hundreds in both the innings, right?
Yeah.
But you made your Test debut, of course. Before that, you would have played like about 10 to 11 Tests, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I researched correctly.
I have no idea. I can't help you with that one.
Are you a numbers person? Do you keep track of records?
Definitely not. Complete opposite. Yeah. The only numbers I want to see is the numbers that contribute to win. So for me, as long as yes, you appreciate stats, I'm not going to lie about that. But if the team doesn't win or we don't win the tournament championship, it just doesn't feel the same. So we all know that the stats contribute to those victories and series wins. But if it's just a stat line, then it's not that big. It's not that important to me.
Yeah. But we'll get to the Headingley Test in a bit. But before that, making your debut for your country, wearing the West Indies shirt for the first time, any shirt, whatever country you're representing, is a huge moment for someone who's grown up in a sports family and said, hey, this is what I want to be when I grow up. Can you take us through those moments? Nobody forgets those.
Yeah. So firstly for Barbados, because I remember making my debut against the Windward Islands in a 4-day game at Kensington Oval again. So I made my first class debut and my Test debut at Kensington Oval. So I must say I'm a very lucky guy to do that.
Yeah.
And I did something yesterday with the green panel, with the sponsors.
Function, yeah.
And they had a picture of me when I was probably like 4 inches tall. And I was actually standing next to Clive Lloyd in that same photo. And he was the person who presented me my Test cap as well. So I believe that a lot of things happen for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and I think that was one of those things for sure.
Yeah.
And just walking out there, seeing my dad in the corner, because he stands in the same place every time I go to Kensington Oval, and knowing that all the hard work that I put in to get there, the support that they've given me throughout the years, and to walk out there and represent my family, one, and then the entire region it was just amazing. It was a heartfelt moment, and I think that any person who's trying to get to the highest level, I'm sure they'll feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, yeah. And then in that test match against England, of course, you score a century, and then 3 days later you score a century again. Before that, you had no test centuries to your name.
Yeah.
Were you aware that this is a very rare record, even though you're not a numbers and records person?
I don't think I had the choice to ignore it, because it was just ringing everywhere, from the newspapers to social media, because we live in a time now where everything is just social media and out there, as you said. So, but I wasn't thinking about it. But to be fair, if Craig scored, I think he made 95 or 96. If he scored those 4 runs, he would have been the first person to do it, because he also got a century the first innings. So credit must be given to him as well. A lot of people forget that he did so much damage in that test match as well. But yeah, again, we won the game. That's the main thing that mattered. And then to have 2 centuries to my name, that felt even better afterwards. So after the loss that we had in the first game, we were thrashed pretty much in that first game. Okay. And it hurt, especially from the comments that a lot of the public be making from the English media or whoever. But then to bounce back the way we did, I think that was the biggest moment of that series, and probably one of the biggest moments of my career so far. So I really enjoyed that game.
For sure. At any point did Craig and you have a competition? Who's going to get to the second century?
Not really. I think we were just counting down the runs.
Yeah.
But yeah, we knew that we had to set a solid foundation just in case, because the ball at Headingley, when the conditions change a bit, when it's a bit overcast, the ball can do a lot. So we know that as long as we set a solid foundation and ensure that we do majority of the hard work at the beginning, then the rest should be taken care of. But we also don't like to leave things for the rest of the batters in the dressing room. So it's important for us to take responsibility, and I pride myself on taking responsibility as well. So, but yeah, Craig, he was always one of those batters who would dig in and grind, make sure that the opposition have a hard day out there. So he actually made it a lot easier for me at the other end. But yeah, it was a great game, and one that I will always cherish.
We've of course not had the opportunity to see you keep wickets here at Delhi Capitals at the IPL. So he's a keeper batter. But how come keeping as a choice? It's not like number one choice for most kids when they
Well, again, that's another decision that I made at a very young age. So we have our junior tournament. It's called Herman Griffith back in Barbados. And I used to do everything, because at the school I went to St. Cyprian's Boys.
Yeah.
And we didn't have many cricketers there. We had guys who enjoy playing cricket, but probably a handful of guys who actually were skilled enough to make it, I would say. I no disrespect to the other ones, but yeah, just being honest. And so I used to open the batting, open the bowling.
That too?
Yeah, because we played 24 over matches, so I used to bowl my 5 overs and then go wicket-keeper after. So I think after the tournament, well, my first good season there, because I also started playing when I was 5 turning 6.
Okay.
So that first season that I did well, I think I got called to the trials. I think it's under 13, the national under 13 team. So they usually categorize all the players. So we'd go in a corner for whichever skill set we have. So all the fast bowlers would go in one side, all the spinners one side, all the batters in one side, and then the keepers in one side. So I saw like 40 bowlers over there, 50 batters, and 2 wicket keepers. So I was like, what? It must be easier to make the team as a wicket keeper, so why not go over there? So I said, you know what? Let me try my hand at keeping. It's not something that I didn't do, because I was doing this as well.
Yeah.
I was probably doing it for majority of the innings, because it's only 5 overs that you bowl. So I just stuck with it, and I always enjoyed keeping since then. So I guess I made the right decision.
100%. And then, of course, when you made the decision and you're a full-time keeper batter, with regards to keeping, do you have people you look up to, you admire?
I love to see good cricket in general. But from a keeping standpoint, watching cricket over the years, I always just see Brendan McCullum taking some serious catches on television. But you cannot watch cricket and appreciate the work that Dinesh Ramding has done as a wicketkeeper. He has kept in all the conditions all around the world, keeping to Sunil Narine and those boys on some turning tracks. And then in the Caribbean, you'd find that some of the bounce can be a bit inconsistent. So you have to stand a lot closer than you normally would. So to react to certain balls, whether it's swinging after the bat, a thick edge where you have to react and dive left or right, I think that all around he was one of the best keepers that the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
And I don't think people give him enough
I
credit
was just
for
going to
it.
say that. I don't think
Yeah, a lot of
enough
people
is,
don't give him enough credit for
enough
that.
is spoken about
Yes.
him and his contribution.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But again, I appreciated the things that McCullum did behind the stumps because he's just a natural athlete. But then you have to look at Dinesh Ramding from an all-round standpoint. He's so good against spin up to the stump. He was good back to the seamers. So he was one of my favorite wicketkeepers as well.
Shai, we'll talk a little bit about cricket in the Caribbean and where it stands today. We've got a World Cup coming up in America and in the West Indies.
Yes.
The last few World Cups have been a little underwhelming. And then, of course, the last World Cup, the 50 over 1, which happened in India, there was no West Indies in the World Cup for the first time. What does cricket mean now to the Caribbean in, if you had to keep in mind the kind of results, and what does a World Cup coming home mean to the people of the Caribbean?
I don't think that cricket would change, or the thought about cricket in the West Indies would change. I think the love and the passion for the game will always remain. As much as some people would say I don't really want to watch this West Indies team playing now, but as long as there's cricket around in the Caribbean, you see people come out in numbers. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing now with this upcoming T20 World Cup. The response that we're getting so far from the crowds, from the public back in West Indies, I think this is going to be one of the bigger tournaments that we're going to see.
Okay.
But from a revival standpoint, yes, we know that the stats haven't shown us progressing as fast as we would like. And being a leader in that setup, the ODI captain, who unfortunately we didn't make it to the last World Cup, like you mentioned. Now, I think that it stemmed from a few things before that. So obviously we look at the end result. A lot of times we don't look at the root of the problem sometimes.
Yes. But
we have to look from within always as players. And regardless of what's happening, we got to find ways to improve. Because the world, they're not going to sit and wait for West Indies to get better. They're going to always find ways to improve, try to get better, keep evolving their game. So we need to get on that train as well. However we do it, but we need to get on that train. And we've had too many talented players over the years to almost let that go to waste. So I think with the mindset that the guys are showing now, I think we're definitely on the right track. But there's a slowly but surely type of progress that we seeing so far. But I think as long as we stick to our strategies and our planning and understand that we're still playing against professional and proper international cricket teams, because when you see West Indies playing back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, you'd see them rolling over teams like if they're playing warm-up games.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the public expect us to beat teams like that. But no, as I said, everyone has evolved, everyone's gotten better. And we need to realize that as well as a team and as players. Like, we don't just expect to walk over teams. We got to fight as hard as they do against us. And over time, we're going to get better. We're going to get better as long as we stick with the same crop of players. Obviously, you're barring a few guys because it's reality. Some guys would come, some guys would go. But the more experience that we gain as a team and as a unit, I think there's only one way forward for us.
A lot of you guys play a whole lot of franchise cricket throughout the year. And for you also, is the volume of the franchise cricket that you play through the calendar more than what you're playing for the West Indies?
Well, no, I can't speak on it as yet because I only just started playing. I mean, personally, I only just started playing franchise cricket, I think last January. Is it 2024 now? Yes.
So that's PSL?
January, I started in BPL.
BPL?
Yeah, so BPL, PSL, and IPL. So those are the only 3 leagues that I played outside of CPL. But I'm sure some of the other boys, they have a lot more leagues under their belts. But I think with the amount of cricket that we play internationally as well, is we do have some pretty packed calendars, especially guys who are all format players. For example, like 𝘵𝘪𝘳𝘯𝘬, who's playing all 3 formats now for West Indies. I'm sure these leagues as well, it could be a lot.
Yeah.
Could be a lot.
Yeah.
Not just physically, it could be a lot mentally as well, because you're traveling, you're away from your family, and depending on what's going on tour, whether you're having a successful tour, whether it's from a personal standpoint or from a team standpoint, it could be even tougher. So it can be a bit difficult, I'd say. But again, I can't speak on those boys who've been doing it. They've been doing it, for some of them 15 plus years, like the 𝘵𝘪𝘯𝘬s and Russells and the Ryans, those boys. But yeah, we only just started last season, but it can be a bit tough, especially when you're traveling so much, because there's a lot of traveling going on. Even here in India, in the IPL, there's a lot of jumping around to get to venue. But as long as you understand your game, what you require, especially mentally, I think you cope with it a lot better. But for someone who's now gotten into the franchise leagues, I'm still trying to understand what's the best way to go about it, because you still have to ensure that you're fresh and ready to play those international fixtures when they come up. Yeah. And as the ODI captain as well, I need to make sure that I'm not going into a series flagging, if you get me.
Correct.
So I'm not saying that the cricket is too much for me, but everyone understands the mental fatigue that can come in sometimes, especially when you're on tour for so long and you're trying to perform at optimal level every single time. So you still have to understand there's a human side to it as well. So
do you have a way, have you figured a way of coping and working around that? Maybe finding ways to perhaps switch off from the cricket completely when you can, because the brain needs a break.
Oh yes, definitely. For me, there's some days I just literally say, whatever my mind tells me to do, just do it. If I wake up in the morning and say go for a swim, go for a swim. If I say I need to go karting, let me just go karting. So there's some days I just have to allow it to happen. Just go with the flow. But in these long trips, because I've been away from home since January, the people who are around you make it a lot easier. And I must say I was blessed to have some great teammates around me in each franchise I've been in. So it made the journey felt as though it was just yesterday. Yes, it's been a long time, but it still feels like 2 weeks have passed, which is a good thing. But like I said, mentally you have to understand that you're still a human being. There's still life after cricket. As much as we love the game so much, you still have to find ways to get away from it so that when you get back onto the park, you're just feeling like a kid again. That you just want to go out there and play cricket.
That feeling is very important.
Yep.
You can't perform without that, for sure. It is your first IPL amongst so many leagues that are played around the world. This is still the biggest.
Yeah.
Which is why everybody wants to be a part of it. What was your expectation, and what has the reality been like of the IPL? We can edit, so it's cool. Be honest.
I don't want to say it's not what I expected, but I've always been in tune with the IPL. There's a lot of, as we all know, there's a lot of West Indians involved in the IPL.
Yeah, and they've all been very successful at the IPL. Yeah.
So seeing it on television is one thing, but then actually embracing the atmosphere is a different thing. For example, we played against Chennai in Vizag, which was supposed to be our home fixture. And the amount of noise and the sea of yellow that you see, we all know that, man. And it's amazing. It's like how do you make so much noise in one small space? I don't think that was possible. So you would hear it on TV, you see it on TV, but it cannot compare to what it is in person.
Yeah.
So that's one thing for sure. Then we all know the quality of players here and the level of cricket, the standard of cricket that's being played here. But a lot of this I would have seen. I would have actually played against a lot of these guys as well in international fixtures. So it is not alien to me.
Yeah.
Because again, like I said, I've faced most of these guys. I've played against them. Sometimes we played with them, some of the overseas players. And like I said, the West Indian boys, they bring back a lot of info. They talk about how each team is, how the league is playing, how the conditions are. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's something I didn't expect, but being here is a whole different feeling. Like understanding what the IPL is, you have to be here to really feel it.
100%. So the man you mentioned who makes every ground in India yellow without fail, you've met him, of course.
Yes.
What has it been like meeting MSD, and anything that you've picked up on during the course of your conversations with him?
All right. So again, just the way he goes about everything. I don't think you can be like that on the field and not off it as well. But I was lucky to have a conversation with him in Jamaica. I think this was the same 2017. We had an ODI series back in the West Indies. So I just wanted to have a chat with him at the end of the game, just to pick his brain a bit. And first, he was just so receptive. Like anyone can just go and talk to him. He was so calm about it. And any question you'd ask him, he would answer without question. So for him, in that situation, I was just trying to pick his brain as best as I could. But one thing that stuck with me, and I've mentioned it a few times, especially to my teammates as well, and he said that you always have way more time than you think. And he's one of the best finishers that we've ever seen in world cricket. And if he's telling you that, then it must be right. It must be working for him. So I think a lot of times we tend to rush the game a bit. So hearing that coming from him, someone who has done it for numerous years, I think it settled my brain a little bit more, especially in the West Indies where we just want things to happen so quickly sometimes.
Yeah.
And we've got so many power players around us. And these same power players, they can give themselves a bit more time. I was talking more so in a 50-over fixture because we were playing an ODI series, so 50-over games. And a lot of times we think that we need to push the 8-ball a little bit too quickly sometimes. So you can also score quickly without taking high risk. And something that he also mentioned to me. But yeah, those little things that he has mentioned then, they stuck with me, and I think they would always stick with me for the rest of my career. And what I would like to do going forward is also pass some of that same knowledge that I've gained from him and many other players around world cricket to the future generation coming through, because I think that's one thing that we lack sometimes. Just as a people in general, I don't think that we share as much knowledge that we can. And the aim is to help people along. You don't just want everyone walking on a bridge alone. You need to make sure you can pull them along in some way. And it was just nice to see that Dhoni could do that for me in my career, and he's also helped me get where I am so far.
That's a lovely thing to say. We'll do a rapid fire when we close this, but just one last thing to just close the conversation with is, what's your dream for West Indies cricket, Shai? we of course we know that we can't control the uncontrollables.
Yes.
But as someone who represents the country, as someone who leads, what is your dream for West Indies cricket?
We all know the obvious answer, and that is simply to get us back to the top. I don't really want to say back to the top. I want to say get to the top, because I don't want to be living in the past all the time. And we tend to do that a bit too much sometimes. But for me, personally, I really want to win a World Cup. That was a dream of mine growing up for years. That hasn't changed. I don't think it will ever change. And 2024 is a perfect opportunity to do so. But I would love to see us being a dominant force again around the world. That's one thing. That's a dream of mine. I want to see West Indies cricket being the team to look at, be the example for the other teams around the world again.
Yeah. And most certainly you are a team that is entertained and will always be. So I think world cricket needs to see Caribbean cricket that we've all spoken about without speaking about it just in the past tense. Well, I mean, a World Cup's coming home, so it could be the perfect stage. So who knows? Good luck for that. But before we close the podcast, Shay, a quick rapid fire. We'll start with some of our Delhi Capitals teammates, okay? So just a few phrases and you tell me which player you can think of immediately.
Okay.
So who would you say is the most forgetful member in our team?
There's so many, man. That's why this is hard. Tristan Stubbs.
Okay. The one who talks the most?
David Warner.
The one who talks the least?
Sumit.
Who among the players is the most active in your players WhatsApp group?
David Warner.
Okay. Who's the most hyperactive one? Like gets off a flight, reaches a new city, wants to do 10 things.
Davey again.
Wow. Let's give him the trophy already. Who's the chiller?
Chiller? Probably myself.
I think so too. Okay. Who is the prankster?
I say I gotta give it 3 for this one.
Yeah.
Jake, Prithvi, and Rishabh.
It's a T20 World Cup at home.
Yeah.
Around the corner. What 3 things should fans expect?
Full-on excitement on and off the field. You know, it's the Caribbean, so you're going to have a party on and off the field. West Indian victory.
Who do you think are going to be the 4 semi-finalists?
West Indies plus. I think that's all I should say. West Indies plus.
Okay. The team that you think could spring a surprise?
Again, I should probably plead the 5th for this one. But one thing about cricket, you know that anyone can win on any day. So I don't think we should jump into this one too much.
Fair. Okay. The number of times you've been called Shai.
Jeez, man. I don't think there's a number for that. So let's just say infinity.
Okay. Okay, Shay, you could invite 3 cricketers from the past or present to dinner at home. Who would you invite?
MS Dhoni, Sir Viv Richards.
Okay.
Hashim Amla.
Interesting
Yeah.
choice. That'd be a very interesting party with great conversations. Okay. Last couple of these. Then 3 lessons you've picked up from spending time in India.
One thing, the culture is very loving. That's one thing I could say. Not saying that we're not loving in the Caribbean, but every morning you see the boys, they just want to give you a hug, make sure everything is good. So that's one thing I could say I've seen a lot here in India.
Yeah.
They're cricket crazy. It's a religion here in India. Of some of these teas that you'd find.
That's Adrak Chai, and Shay's a new fan.
Yes,
He's a
I
convert.
just had it, and I think
is this your
is a
Adrak Chai debut?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
Good
so.
one.
I've had something similar to it, but I think this is the best one that I've had so far. Yeah.
Lovely. Last one, something we didn't know about you, like a hidden talent.
I don't know if I still have it, but I would say I'm not too bad with a pencil. I can actually draw. I'm not as good painting, but I can draw. I did art back in school, and I used to draw a bit. I used to doodle a bit on my sketch pad for a few years after I started playing for West Indies as well. But I haven't touched the pencil, unfortunately, for a little while. So I maybe should take the pencil and the sketch pad up to see if I still have it.
Yes, and then the cameras will be following
Yes.
you. Of course they will.
Yes.
Okay, cool. No, thank you. Great to know you, have you around, and dig a little deep and understand cricket in the Caribbean and your goals.
Yes.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. Have a wonderful IPL, whatever's left of it, and a great, great World Cup. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.